results via email was a lie?
It wasn't a lie. It
just wasn't the truth.
Mr. Williams knew that he had to pay the $44.50.
Oh, we're not talking about $44.50.
Okay.
We're talking about the result.
Why not? You just said
Because I feel in my heart that she's mine.
you emotional.
I don't pity
And
for
you
him.
feel hurt because
Ma'am, if you don't be quiet and let me get a question out.
We'd actually split up and my ex was at my mom's. And of course I was depressed. So I was drinking. And we ended up doing what we probably shouldn't have.
And so you had sex with your ex?
Yes.
Can you believe this drama is unfolding before our eyes? The case of Williams Jr. v. Davis kicks off. Mr. Williams claims that a fleeting one-night stand with Miss Davis 4 years back has entangled him in a paternity dispute he vehemently denies. On top of that, he's suing Miss Davis for selling his beloved 1994 Pontiac Firebird without his nod. Buckle up, we're just diving into the juicy bits.
Mr. Williams, you claim 4 years ago you had a one-night stand with defendant Ms. Davis, and today you're here to prove you didn't father her 3-year-old son, Charles. Additionally, you are suing Davis for conversion. You claim she sold your 1994 Pontiac Firebird valued at $2,500 without your permission.
Just when you think it's straightforward, there's a twist. Mr. Williams recounts that infamous night, a party that turned into a one-night rendezvous with Miss Davis. Amidst the revelry and too many drinks, he admits the details are fuzzy, especially about protection. The plot thickens, so don't wander off now.
I met Miss Davis about 4 years ago. Party atmosphere and everything. We partied, spending the night together that night.
So it was, in your mind, a one-night stand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you use protection?
Because I was inebriated and it was 4 years ago, I'm not positive that I did use medication.
All right.
The plot thickens. Miss Davis throws her certainty into the ring, insisting Mr. Williams is definitely the father, based on their brief encounter during a split with her then-boyfriend. As the stakes escalate, keep your eyes peeled. You won't want to miss what's coming.
Okay, at the time I was in a relationship, so I was for certain that my boyfriend was my child father.
How did you get to the point where you got a boyfriend, but you're at this party and having a one-night stand, Mr. Williams?
We was broken up, but we wasn't. We was split it for a couple of days.
Okay.
And I was just mingling, and that's when I met.
It's always on the break, Ron. Always the break. How are you so certain he's the father?
For one,
she's not.
Talk about a curveball. The story spirals as Miss Davis admits there were other contenders for paternity during the conception window. This revelation throws a wrench into the works, multiplying the doubts and drama. Fasten your seatbelts. It's getting bumpy.
Now, anybody else? That's what I need to ask.
yes, it was another man.
So there was another man that you had sex with as well?
Yes.
During the window of conception?
Yes, the beginning of September.
So this calendar is full. Before I go further, is there anyone else besides the other man?
No, Your Honor.
It would have to be at least 3 or 4 other people that she was intimate with during that time, during that window of conception.
And just when you thought paternity was the only issue, we shift gears to the saga of the missing car. Mr. Williams recounts how his Pontiac vanished while parked at Miss Davis's residence, and he suspects foul play. The intrigue deepens, and something tells me you'll want to see what happens next.
What happened to the car, Ms. Davis?
I don't know anything about a car. I don't know.
So you don't remember the car being in front of your house?
No, I don't.
Your Honor,
She said she doesn't remember a car in front of her.
He don't have evidence, or he don't have no kind of proof that I did.
Did you ever ride in the car? So you knew which car it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing you know, it was gone.
You couldn't make this up if you tried. Emotions overflow as Miss Davis accuses Mr. Williams of dipping in and out of the child's life on a whim. She questions his sincerity and his sudden presence. The emotional roller coaster is just reaching the peak, so don't go anywhere.
Yes.
He showed up to try to be in the child's life.
Yes, he did.
But he showed up with company.
Right, but he was staying in my mother's house every day with me and my son. So if me, personally, if you feel like you're not father of a child, why are you around?
Why not? That doesn't make sense. Why not?
If you knew you didn't have a DNA test result, why would you father or a role of a child that feels not yours?
Okay, hold on now.
Every testimony adds another layer to this tangled tale. Skepticism about the DNA test validity surfaces, with Miss Bryant, Mr. Williams' current girlfriend, highlighting discrepancies and suspicious delays. As the tension mounts, brace yourself for an explosive revelation.
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
Because they had took a test, a home kit test, was supposed to be back in 2 days, 2.5 weeks to get the test back. But on the box it said 2 days. She finally said she got the test back 2.5 weeks later, come back. We're expecting to come over there and get a paper saying, hey, this is your son, for Mr. Eddie Williams.
This bombshell will knock your socks off. In a shocking twist, Miss Davis admits she never actually submitted the DNA test, throwing the entire case into a frenzy of doubt and disbelief. Just when you think it can't get more chaotic, the next moment will floor you.
I never turned the test in.
That is
But
sad.
she's ready to put me on child support.
So why go through the whole trouble of giving them this email address and this if you never turn the test in? So the whole story about you getting results via email was a lie? lie?
It wasn't a lie.
Just wasn't the truth.
Mr. Williams knew that he had to pay the $44.50.
Oh, we're not talking about 44.
Okay.
We're talking about the result.
Lauren.
Did you tell them that you had a result?
Yeah.
Expect the unexpected. As the judge deliberates over the fate of the vanished Pontiac, the absence of concrete evidence forces a dismissal of the car lawsuit. But keep your ears open, because the real showstopper is just around the corner.
I have listened, I've listened to her, I've listened to you. I don't know what happened to the car, but unfortunately you have not presented enough evidence to this court that she was responsible for its disappearance or it being sold. For that reason, I have to dismiss you.
That's fine.
All right?
Here comes the moment of truth. The DNA results are finally disclosed.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. William, you are the father.
Buckle up, folks. The episode kicks off with the announcement of the case, Markham Love versus Tucker Golston, setting the stage for a drama-filled showdown. This legal dispute involves Ms. Markham Love and two potential fathers, Mr. Tucker and Mr. Golston. The twisty tale hints at a deeply entangled mess of paternity and emotional identity, all woven through her past roller coaster experiences in foster care. And just when you think you know what's up, the plot thickens. Stay tuned.
Ms. Markham Love, you're here because you say your childhood was a nightmare. Wow. You claim your mother, Ms. Nasiri Poor, lost you to foster care and left you torn between two fathers, including the defendant.
You won't believe this. Mr. Tucker shares a bombshell, recalling a jaw-dropping court hearing years ago where he first discovered there was a question about his paternity. This revelation stirs up a whirlwind of emotional and legal chaos, throwing familial relationships, especially concerning paternity, into a tailspin. Just as the audience catches their breath, the emotional ante is upped even further. Watch what happens next.
You say a bomb was dropped on you. Years ago, you showed up to a court hearing to gain custody of Ms. Markham Love. You claimed that day her mother delivered the news to you that you may not be her biological father.
Grab some tissues. Ms. Markham Love opens up about her turbulent childhood, marked by a dizzying array of foster homes and deep emotional scars. She drops a major truth bomb about learning at age 12 that Mr. Tucker might not be her biological father, shining a spotlight on the profound personal impacts of her mother's life choices. But hang tight, the emotional roller coaster is just getting started.
Please explain to the court, why was your childhood a nightmare?
Got put in foster care, had to live with complete strangers. I don't have respect for anyone telling me what to do, or even Shireen. I don't have a close bond with her. I've been living from foster home to foster. I found out at 12 that Myron here, Mr. Tucker, may not be my father.
Oh, it's heating up now. A fiery exchange erupts between Mr. Tucker and Ms. Nasirapur, Ms. Markham Love's mother, over decisions that shaped their current predicament. This clash uncovers layers of unresolved issues and tensions, complicating their relationships and Ms. Markham Love's quest for identity. The air crackles with drama, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next.
Shireen had told my grandma,
Miss Nasiri Poor.
Miss Nasiri told my grandmother it was related to me.
And so when you heard that, what did you think?
I felt hurt, betrayed, and lost with emotion.
Did you ever meet the person they said was supposed to be your biological father?
Yes, Your Honor. I met him one time. He took me and my sister out to ice cream. That was the only time I seen him. Barely talked to him on Facebook.
Things are getting spicy. The courtroom becomes a battleground as accusations fly and denials clash, revealing the emotional complexities and deep-seated pain often lurking behind cases involving family secrets and paternity doubts. As the accusations pile up, the stakes get even higher. Brace yourselves, because what happens next will knock your socks off.
Why did you do the things for her to get in foster care?
If I was such a bad mom,
All right,
at that time, you should have done something about it.
listen. Back then, when you say the test should have been taken, did you consider taking one? Why didn't you? I mean, that's kind of a good
Because
question.
I didn't find out.
Why not just, I'd like to take a DNA test?
I didn't find out that I was in question until the court date.
Everyone's on the edge of their seats. As the court proceedings continue, Ms. Markham Love voices her longing for closure and a clearer understanding of her heritage. Her heartfelt story captures the universal struggle of many seeking to piece together their origins amid legal battles and personal turmoil. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next twist comes barreling down the pike.
So in your mind, you were the father. There was no reason to.
Exactly.
At
That's
7
the way
years
I still
old.
feel
So
right
when
now.
you heard
gosh.
this in court,
At 7 years old.
did you say, I'd like a test now?
No,
So at that point, why not? You just said
because I feel in my heart that she's mine.
you emotional.
Oh, pity
And
for
you
him.
feel hurt because
That's white.
ma'am, if you don't be quiet and let me get a question out.
You think you know, but you have no idea. More details emerge about the family dynamics and Mr. Tucker's mysterious absence, characterized by deceit and poor communication. This segment offers a revealing glimpse into the misunderstandings and challenges that can perpetuate strife within families. As the truth slowly unravels, prepare for the next scene. It's a real doozy.
You supposed to be out playing basketball? And where were you?
Wedding reception.
What?
There's a lot more to this story.
No, don't start talking soft now.
There's a whole lot more to this story than what she's saying.
But it's true that you were living with them as a family and then you disappeared. You went and got married to someone else?
Yes.
Wait for it. The peak of the episode arrives with the DNA test results.
As it pertains to 22-year-old Britt Markham Love, Mr. Tucker, you are not her father.
Buckle up, folks! Ms. Campbell steps up, all nerves and hope, desperate to find out if Mr. Rogers is indeed the father of her 3-week-old wonder child. Meanwhile, Mr. Rogers, tangled in matrimonial and extra-matrimonial knots, grapples with his heartstrings over potentially not being the daddy. Get ready, because this baby drama is just getting started.
Campbell, you're here desperate to learn if the man you're in love with is indeed your 3-year-old daughter's biological father. Now, Mr. Rogers, you're a married man, and although you have reason to doubt, you say it would break your heart if you found out today that you're not Anna Gale's father.
Now, here's where things get spicy. Ms. Campbell drops a bombshell. She's not just with Mr. Rogers, but also his wife. Cue the audience gasps and clutching of pearls as the court delves into this love triangle. Or is it a square? You won't believe how they got into this mess, so stay tuned.
Miss Campbell, you're in a relationship with both Mr. Rogers and his wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jerome, just bring her in.
You got it.
Thank you.
Dive into this backstory. Mr. Rogers unwraps the tale of their 20-year marriage with Angela and how Gracie got thrown into the mix. Initially, it was all girls' business until he got the invite a year later. As the plot thickens, you'll see just how complicated their happy home is.
Angela known each other for 24 years. We've been married for 20 years. They kind of hit it off together. She brought Gracie into the relationship just for herself. I knew she liked women, so I kind of just let her go ahead.
Okay, and how did it?
I let them have their relationship. I got brought into it about a year later. Gracie wanted to have children. Said she was getting to the age where she wanted to have kids. Angela told her, she said, the only way you can have children is if Thomas is the father.
Guess what's cooking? Trouble in paradise as Mr. Rogers outlines the you, me, and nobody else agreement. But alas, the plot twists with doubts creeping in over baby Anna Gale's paternity. Hang on to your seats. The courtroom's about to turn into a daytime drama fest.
He was there. He's the one that gave me away, so it's not like it was forced. And as far as the relationship between me and him goes and bringing her in, he's a man and he wanted it just as much as me.
To the doubt surrounding baby Anna Gale. Why does the doubt exist? You
Your
are
Honor.
in a polyamorous relationship, so that means you expect that both of these women would only be sleeping with you. That's what you felt like the deal was.
I was supposed to be the dad of her 2 children.
Well, here's a doozy. At a swingers club, both women, unbeknownst to Mr. Rogers, take a walk on the wild side with another guy, shaking the very foundations of their agreement. Unprotected and unplanned, this night out might just rewrite their family tree. What happens next is jaw-dropping.
He started talking to some guy. Well, I didn't know there was rooms in back. Between both of us drinking a lot, we ended up in the back in one of the rooms. We ended up having relations with this guy that we don't even know.
You both have sex with this guy without protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rogers, you really didn't see this coming.
No, I didn't. I thought we had a good relationship. Me and Gracie, we have a son together, 2-year-old son.
After that bombshell, see how Mr. Rogers stands tall. Despite the swirling storm of doubt and betrayal, he remains steadfast in his role as dad, cherishing every moment with the little one. His commitment speaks volumes, but hold tight. The emotional roller coaster has a few more loops.
So as you look at baby Anna Gale, do you feel she's yours?
I want her to be mine. I see her every day. I try to spend as much time with her as I can. When I get home from work, she wakes up, I get her.
So even after you found this out, even after you knew all that, you still come home from work and that's what you want to do is spend time with your baby girl and your children.
Yes.
As the tension hits a peak, Ms. Campbell owns up to a possible slip-up around the time of conception. Hearts pound as she voices her hopes that Mr. Rogers is the father. The suspense is killing, and you'll want to see how the judge cuts through this tangled web.
Your doctor's saying here that your date of conception is the 11th, and when we look at the 11th, right there the day before would be potential father number 2. That's really close to the 11th.
In my heart that I did mess up and I didn't mean for all this to happen. But I want him to know, of course, you might not be the father, but I hope that you are.
Just when you think it's all over, the paternity results are in. Mr. Rogers finds out he's officially the father, and the courtroom erupts in applause. It's a moment of pure soap opera gold. But don't wander off. The family saga isn't over yet.
In the case of Rogers, versus Cam Rogers pertaining to 3-week-old Annagale Rogers. Mr. Rogers, you are her father.
And for the grand finale, Austin's results are revealed.
Mr. Rogers, you've waited 18 years for these results, and the wait is over. You are his father.
Here's where things get juicy. Mrs. Eastridge is at her wit's end, hoping to glue her marriage back together. Because let's be real, DNA drama over her son Wesley has turned their home into an episode of constant bickering. She's in court today to prove to her hubby that he really is Wesley's dad and hopefully patch things up at home. The judge nods along, clearly understanding how much is riding on today's revelations. Brace yourself, because just when you think you've seen it all, the next revelation is a doozy.
You are here hoping to save your marriage because DNA doubts surrounding your son Wesley has led to constant arguments with your husband. You've opened your case to prove to your husband that he is Wesley's father and repair the damage to your marriage.
Can you feel the tension in the air? Mr. Eastridge is laying it all out, sharing how the whispers of Wesley's paternity have turned his life upside down, suspecting that his wife might have reignited an old flame with her ex, which has him losing sleep. The emotional turmoil is palpable, as the stakes of the DNA test couldn't be higher. Mrs. Eastridge then paints a picture of a marriage hanging by a thread, riddled with doubts planted by both their families. And guess what? It spirals even further in the next clip.
You say doubts surrounding Wesley's paternity have caused pain in your marriage. You claim your wife slept with her ex, leading you to question if Wesley your biological son. So, Mrs. Eastridge, describe current status of your marriage.
Well, our marriage is actually on the line right now. His family's put a lot of doubt in his head, and so is mine.
Buckle up, this ride's getting bumpier. They dive into the daily chaos at home, where the topic of Wesley's dad is like a broken record, causing friction. Mr. Eastridge can't shake the feeling that he doesn't see himself in Wesley, and boy, does that haunt him. This seed of doubt was planted during a fiery argument when Mrs. Eastridge, maybe out of spite, dropped the bomb that Wesley might be her ex's kid. Hang tight, because what comes next will have your jaw on the floor.
So, Mr. Eastridge, you have doubt.
I don't think he looks like me.
What's going on in your home? Are you arguing about paternity?
Yes.
How did the argument start?
Well, the argument started, got mad at me one day, and we was arguing. While she was pregnant, she told me that she was leaving to one of her family members' house, and that for me not to worry about her or the baby because that baby's father, that it's her ex's baby.
Backtrack to the beginning of this soap opera. The court takes us back to when these two lovebirds met at a military academy, fell head over heels, and tied the knot right after graduation, only to find out they were going to be parents almost immediately. Timing is everything, and the math here has Mr. Eastridge sweating bullets over the real daddy drama. Keep your eyes peeled, because the next part of their tale is about to add more spice to the mix.
So you really can't blame him for being doubtful because you said it.
You're right, I don't, but I just want to prove to him, hey.
Tell me about your relationship. How did you all meet?
We actually met at a military academy.
Okay, so you were going to school?
We got together and pretty much we've been together off and on.
How many years? How long?
Since I was 14 and he was 15. Yes, Your Honor.
And then you decided to get married?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just when you think it couldn't get messier, we learn about Mrs. Eastridge's ex, who not only stuck around but was practically part of the family furniture, much to Mr. Eastridge's dismay. This ongoing connection between her ex and her family only fuels Mr. Eastridge's suspicions and paranoia about the possible behind-the-scenes romance. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because the revelations coming up are going to make this look like child's play.
So you weren't married yet when Wesley was conceived.
No, Your Honor.
And you weren't sure whether or not she had been intimate with someone else. But clearly something else had to happen if paternity of the child is in question.
He lived with my family. After we broke up, they let him live there. He lived there ever since me and Anthony got together, pretty much.
So your ex remained close to your family?
He made sure that he was there.
You won't believe this bombshell. Mrs. Eastridge confesses to a fling with her ex during a rocky phase with Mr. Eastridge, although she's quick to clarify the timeline to defend the paternity of her son. This crucial confession might just be the key to solving the mystery of Wesley's dad, yet she stands her ground, adamant about her current husband's fatherhood. The aftermath of this confession is up next, and it's a roller coaster.
At some point, you hit a really rocky point because you broke up.
Yes.
What happened?
It was February 2016. We had actually split up, and my ex was at my mom's. And of course, I was depressed. so I was drinking. And we ended up doing what we probably shouldn't have.
And so you had sex with your ex?
Yes, in February of 2016. The conception date of my son is April 1st through April 11th. Anthony is the father, I know this for a fact, because of the conception date.
Just when you're ready to catch your breath. As the court session hits its peak, allegations fly from family members claiming Mrs. Eastridge has been a little too social, adding fuel to the fiery paternity debate. This family drama unfolds like a primetime reality show, with the DNA test looming as the season finale that could either mend or end this marriage. As the tension builds to its breaking point, get ready, because the results are about to drop like a hot potato.
So I'm positive Wesley is not Mr. Eastridge's baby. That seems consistent to what you testified to your family members, that you are not Wesley's biological father. And even with your family members' thoughts, concerns, you still have developed a relationship with this baby.
It's not his fault. I'm not his father, so I shouldn't take that out on him.
And here's the moment of truth. The envelope finally arrives, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Eastridge, you are the father.